Welcome to the Reseller's Niche Podcast, a show for e-commerce buyers and sellers where we investigate unique categories of items being bought and sold and show how research equals knowledge equals profit. And now your hosts, Russ and Mo.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Reseller Niche Podcast. We've been gone for a little bit again, but I think we got a good topic today. How's it going, Russ?
It's going good, Mo. How are you doing?
I'm good. I know you're on the road today, so that's why we're doing this audio only, but that's okay because we've got to deal with what we've got. So.
Yeah. Well, gotta work. We're working out those technical difficulties of that we can tell people try to hook up to a hotspot through our data plan, and we had a little issues with it. So we'll get there. We'll get some live shows again. They can see my ugly mug.
We'll give them a break for a couple of weeks from both of us. So that's
It's all about the voices. Anyway, it's the content and the voice. Right. Gotcha.
That's right. So what are we talking about today, Russ?
Well, we've always talked about networking and how we network, and what you and I do together when we talk, we network, and how important it is, and also how a lot of resellers don't do it. We tend to rely on a few things, and I think back on time on networking, before the internet, and I was around before the internet. And I was back before the internet.
Some of these people won't remember that, so I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, a lot of us do, right? And take getting a new job. Before the internet, you would look in the newspaper, and that's a form of networking. And you would go through the ads and look and call the people, or fax them a resume or send it in through the mail.
Yep.
And they used to say the most important thing about getting a new job was network.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that because I remember, I don't even know if they have these anymore. My first jobs, like most kids, were probably, in high school. I think it was freshman, sophomore year. And you go into these job rooms. I forget what they call it, job centers or something like that, where they post.
Right.
So you had to know, and with ours, there was only like 5 posted every month. So you have to know when they were going to post it. So I knew the job lady, and then she was also the librarian. So she said, "Oh yeah, we posted some new ones up on Tuesday. Go check it out." So I think my first job ever was selling newspapers over the phone.
And you take it in today's world that we talk about, like go look at a Facebook wall. You went and looked at a wall.
Yep.
And saw a post.
Yep. I looked at a wall and I saw a job, and then I didn't like it, but I said, hey,
it was your first job. You're not supposed to like your first job.
That's true.
So you take that in that time, and then go into today's time, and how do people find a job?
That's true. I mean, there's so many websites, something that wasn't even around when I was looking at that wall. And then, even back then it was networking.
Now, in the professional realm, we used to have associations, and we used to have, monthly luncheons.
Yes.
And you go, you heard anybody hiring? Who's hiring? Anybody looking for anybody? And we had the headhunters. And of course, I was a recruiter at a time at myself, so you had that aspect.
Yep.
So, take it today. Now you sit at your desk, you're looking for a new job. You sit at your desk, or you sit at home, and you start going through all the job boards and hit send resume. You may send 300-400 resumes before you even get a response.
Into an oblivion, but yeah, absolutely.
You send it into an oblivion. So, resellers and our eBay, Amazon type people, we can get isolated.
Yeah.
And, we do our thing. We go to the thrift store. We go to our favorite wholesale place. We go to our whatever we're doing. We can get isolated, and you forget to have that human connection. And it can be very lonely. And that's some of the things that you and I have talked about, that a lot of people, say, man, it's great, but it can get lonely.
Oh yeah. I mean, moving up a little bit from my first job, I mean, if I'm talking about networking, kind of alluding to what you just talked about, we used to have, because I used to run a shipping store, and this is pre-Facebook. So we would have these luncheons, just like you said. And as everybody in the city would show up, and sometimes it'd be, hosted by the city. Sometimes it would just be part of the city, or part of the county, wherever. And you just go, everyone shows up with their business cards, like physical little business cards, if people remember what those are. And then sometimes flyers. And then one guy would talk maybe at a lunch, and then the rest of the time you just chit chat and shake hands and meet people.
Right. Yep. And, now they've even got it. Have you ever heard of BNI? Business Networking International?
Yes.
Have you ever seen how those groups operate?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, they sit at a table. You join this group, and you pay to join this group.
Yeah.
And you sit there and you try to trade business. Here, I gave your referral out to this guy, try to call him back. And it's a great way to network at your business or your company.
It's awesome.
But it goes back down to that personal, you're sitting at a table with another person.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially because me personally, I'm not the type, without something like that, without something set up, I wouldn't kind of go out on my own to do that, which is a bad thing. So these types of networking groups or networking meetings, I mean, they're so beneficial. You meet people face to face, shake their hand. And usually one of the first comments I'd always get is, oh, I think I've seen you before, or I think I've seen your store before. And, oh, I just never came in, but now, oh, you do this. Oh, I didn't know that. And then that's where it starts. And then you kind of go from there.
So let me ask you a question. From those luncheons, from those things, and from those meeting people,
yes,
did you gain customers?
Absolutely. And I gained people. Actually, one of the people I met at it was one of those luncheons, was one of the people we've interviewed on this show, Claro.
Yeah.
So
right.
So I mean,
and now how long have you and Claro known each other?
Wow. So this is probably 7 years ago, something like that.
So
about 20,
7-8 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while. And then I remember it's funny. I don't know. I don't know why I remember this, but I remember he wrote down his phone number or something like that. And my comment to him was, wow, you have really nice handwriting. And I don't know why I remember that, because I have horrible handwriting, I think. But I mean, it's so
right.
Remember, right? I mean,
just think you remember, and yet now you look at the history of you and Claro. You guys have done business together, not only then but now.
Yeah,
and
I just posted on Instagram was something I got from him last week. That shirt.
Right. So that networking, that comes from networking. And, how can what are some of the other tools that we can use today to network? Do that face-to-face networking.
Yes.
And the way I like to do it is a couple of years ago, and Mo, we brought this up in a couple podcasts about, at the thrift stores, a couple of years ago, you didn't tell them you're a reseller. You didn't say anything about eBay.
No.
But now I walk into places and I look at, I'll even do garage sales a lot of times now.
Oh, yeah.
What are you going to do with that? Well, I'm a reseller. I look for things. I'll make a few bucks off of it. But so you start networking and start building that network up. Yes. When I was in Shreveport, I ran into a guy. He had something for sale. And I was like, I called him up. I could tell he was the reseller. He bought the stuff after estate sale. And he had something that I missed at an estate sale that I saw, and I was like, I missed that. I should have grabbed it. Well, he and I have been doing some business. It's not heavy, but now he calls me and says, hey, Russ, I've got this. and
that's
I'll go buy it. Yeah. It's because I face-to-face network.
Yeah.
And so just tell people what you do. Tell your family. Tell them to tell everybody, hey, if you got things for sale or you want to make some extra cash or you need some extra cash, call Mo, call Russ, because he looks for things like that.
Oh yeah.
And you just never know. And the next part of it that I think that we all are starting to do, just in the past year or two, past 2 years, how you and I met.
Yep. That's true.
Through reseller groups.
Yep. And then we had, obviously, like I think we've talked about this before. We started a mastermind group earlier this year, set up by Chris Lynn, 10K on the Bay. And,
right.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have. Also we were in a Facebook group together as well, but I don't think we would have connected on that level if we didn't join that mastermind group.
Yeah, exactly. So you are absolutely right, Mo, because we would have been one of 800 or 900 or 1,000 people and would have just missed each other.
Exactly. I'm not discounting Facebook groups or anything at all. I'm in them nonstop. But the way to do it is to kind of fine tune, and by fine tuning, find your group, find your niche, find your little area where you can get extra. Masterminds are a great way to go.
We talked about that last episode. You have to have a balance, and there's times where you have to be off the social media and off everything to you've got a job to do. You've got a business to run.
That's right.
Yeah, it can be time consuming, but yet on the same token, it can be so eye opening. How many bolos have you seen from groups, Mo, that you made money off of?
That's true. I have. And then, to be honest, the best, there's so many times where you find something and then maybe it's in, somebody announces it in Florida and you're in, the Midwest, West Coast, and it's easier to get because in Florida, they're all gone. But over here, there's an abundance of them. So you can just pick
right.
So, and then I think it's even better when you have like a smaller group when you're doing that. You've got maybe 5 guys or whatever, 6 guys, a little mastermind, and you can fine tune it. Because you got like 1,000 guys going after it, and maybe you're going to run out. But then if you got 5 guys going after it, then you can work together. You can figure out strategies to, maybe there's other things that are similar to it, and you can kind of work with those people without stepping on each other's toes.
Here's a great example, Mo. Yeah, exactly. You can't. You taught me about miniatures.
Oh yeah.
We had a show. Well, let's go back. Claro.
Yeah.
We talked about. I think his episode was more on the action figures, but he also does miniatures. Me and you talked at length about that.
Yeah.
At a garage sale in Lexington, Kentucky, ran across some train miniatures.
Oh, nice.
Road signs, stuff like that, and picked them up and sold them within that day.
Nice.
And tripled my money. So that's networking at its best.
Oh yeah. And then it's funny what you'll learn just from kind of piggybacking on what you learned yesterday, who you met yesterday, what you talked about, things possibly you've seen before. Maybe you passed it in the store, you just didn't really pay attention, and then maybe somebody says, "Oh yeah, I know a lot about this." Our interview that we did about Disney. I didn't know about any of that stuff.
Daniel's got some Disney skills, doesn't he?
Yes. And you would think, Disney, everybody knows Disney, but do you really? His knowledge, constantly going to the parks, years of buying, selling locally, eBay, all of that stuff. There's stuff he knows about. So it's a whole different level.
Yeah. And if we're out and about and we see some Disney stuff, who's our call?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and the stuff he posts, it's ridiculous, and he knows it, and he knows the ins and outs, when to buy, all that stuff, and then.
And I do know, like, there are times too, and we haven't really had this happen yet, but I know, like Stephen Peterson talks about, he's on his podcast. He's been out and he'll see something, or he'll make a call, or one of his buddies call, and they'll go into business together on the deal.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure if I run across a big, huge Disney thing and say, hey, call Daniel and say, you know, what do you think about it? Say, well, yeah, well, let's do some work together, because he and I did some work together when I was in Florida.
Yeah.
We did some trading, you know, so yeah, networking, and that's how I met Daniel, is just by networking in Chris's group, the Reseller fam.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, I've got inventory. I got to sell it. I'm selling out my inventory. So, you know, boom, 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 boom. Things happen. You never know what's going to happen, but you got to put yourself out there.
Absolutely. I know I've kind of been slow to do it in a sense, but what I like to think about when we do our show, the people we've interviewed with and collaborated with, every single person that's come on our show, we've had some contact with in terms of business, in terms of learning things, in terms of us learning from them, and vice versa. So that's kind of how we structured who we interview. We don't do as many anymore, but we're going to do that in the future. But Daniel, for example, is a great example. I see all the posts he puts on Instagram now, and I'm kind of away. Like how does he get this stuff? But I mean, if we didn't put ourselves out, if he didn't put himself out there, we wouldn't have known that. So.
Yeah, and he's at Disney World every day.
Yep.
You know, and so he's gathering that knowledge. It all goes, you know, even networking goes back into the core of our show.
Yeah.
Research equals knowledge equals profit.
Yeah.
Because if you're networking, then you have your research base there. And what better of a research base than a person to person?
That's right. And then when you can kind of take it on to another level then, because a lot of people, the way you after a certain amount of time, once you start finding things that you like, finding stores that you like, maybe businesses that you like, that you frequent often, you can network with those maybe managers, assistant managers, employees there. Chris always talks about, you know, going up and trying to introduce himself to the employees, and then hopefully the manager after that, and setting up a business relationship that way. Yeah.
And that pays off. I mean, that just pays off, you know, that's a good point, Mo, because that would be, you know, your short-term networking of today. Yep. Hey, I'm Russ. I buy such and such.
Yeah.
And then long-term, but your long-term networking starts at that same level. Hey, I'm Russ. I buy such and such. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, it was good to see you. I'm Russ. And using your name and learning their name are so important.
That right there, actually, right, that point right there, learning somebody's name, because I'm really bad with names. So this is a lesson for me too, because actually we can say this to anybody that's listening out there. I guarantee you there's a store that you frequent more than any others, maybe local to you, maybe it's just something you pass all the time. If you don't know the manager of that store, or maybe the employee that's in there at the time that you go in there this week or whenever you go in there next, and just stick out your hand. Even if they don't give you their name, give them your name and say, hey, my name's Mo. I resell. I just wanted to introduce myself, and just do that.
Yeah.
Next time you come in, you can start a conversation, but just go start with that much right there.
Yeah, right. Just start, you know, one step at a time. You can't walk in the store and go, you can, but it doesn't happen as frequently as walk in. I'm Russ. I'm a reseller. I'm gonna buy a bunch of stuff. Give me a big break, or call me next time you get something. You're just the next customer. And
yeah,
I don't like to say just the next customer. You know, you're just one of many. You know, I often think of using people's names, and I love telling this story. When I was 16, 17, I went to a scholarship. I got a scholarship for a business type symposium weekend.
Okay.
And one of the speakers they had there was Lieutenant Charlie Plum, and he was a POW in Vietnam.
Oh.
And he stayed the weekend with us, and it was really neat just to hang out. And he every time I'd see him, he'd say, hey, Russ, how you doing? And everything. And it just impressed me at 16, 17 years of age that this POW, former POW, remembered my name.
Yeah.
And there was probably about 200 other kids there.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, and so it wasn't like, I think there was probably 100, Mo. So even 50, 100, and he would say, hey, hey, John, hey, Mo, and he'd talk to you for a little bit, and he was really just a personal type guy. So we were sitting around one day, and I asked him, I said, you're really good with names and stuff. And he goes, I didn't hear my name for 5 years. And he said, if you're a Christian, you believe God gave you that name.
Yeah.
He goes, my name sounds good even off my own tongue. And he said, it makes it personal and it connects us. Well, I've kept in touch with Lieutenant Colonel Plum now for 35 years. Or I want to say almost 40. So, but that's just a neat way of thinking about how important using people's names are.
Yeah.
And it's just we kind of chased a rabbit on that, but that will increase your networking.
It will, because you never know. I mean, it doesn't even have to be an ends to mean. I mean, means to an end. It can be just as much as getting to know someone because you see them a lot. And then maybe that person will lead to something, maybe it won't, but it doesn't hurt. And it also, it opens you up to like possibilities, let's just say, because maybe you're talking to somebody, a customer service person that's not going to help you at all. The manager's the only person, but you never know. He might recommend you on.
I see Mo in here a lot. You need to talk to this guy. They're going to do. Yeah. And it's just, and you hit on a point, Mo. Don't always do it just for the mean. Sometimes do it just to be part of society.
Yeah.
Part of a good society and treating each other with respect.
Yeah, because it seems like we're so connected right now. I guess we're getting off on a slight tangent here, but being connected in a sense. So
yeah, we're connected but disconnected and discontent. So yeah, it's a society. Events of the past have can weigh on you. Like there can show that's kind of what we are. But yeah, just talk to people and let them know who you are. Let them know what you do. Let them know what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
And then, and I was back in Shreveport, I think with one of the episodes I had, I said I went out sourcing with one of my best picking buddies, Terry, who we had on. He does tools. If you're loan sourcing and it gets kind of stressful or boring, or you kind of get being alone type thing, hey, go find you that picking buddy.
Yeah.
And because network it up and find, hey, you want to go sourcing with me? Set some ground rules.
Yeah.
We say that, like, hey, if we see something, we can go in together, but if you see it first, and it's yours.
Yeah.
That type of thing. And I always advise people, if you're sourcing together, go ahead and split up in the wherever you're at. That way, that way you're not fighting over it.
Yeah.
But
when you do that, I've sourced a couple times with people, not that much, but usually we'll do it one of two ways, like you said there, or we'll just go in from the beginning. So, whatever we get, we're going to split 50-50. And then
right.
Kind of whatever you kind of figure out the rough value of them. So that, whatever works, but just talk about that before you walk in the door.
Especially if you're new networking with somebody and going, and so that way you be polite.
Yeah.
Set those ground rules. So when you think of that on networking and how we do it on a day-to-day basis and maybe not focus on it.
Yeah.
And then when you focus on it, it should be part of your daily mindset.
Absolutely.
How am I going to expand my network? And it could be, Mo, you have 2 children. Their ages are, again, 6 and 9.
5 and 7 right now.
5 and 7. Okay. So when you're out and about, and I can gather most of your friends outside of your family circle, you have a commonality with the children, but you've networked.
Yeah.
You've had play dates.
Yes.
You've had birthday parties.
Oh yeah. Going to one tomorrow.
Sure, I've been there. So no, it's funny how you can use things too to help network.
Oh yeah.
Chloe, our dog, is she's with us constantly now. So like even when we're out garage sailing, she's in the back of the Jeep.
Oh.
So her head's there. So she's, and I'll say, oh, so here comes somebody there. Oh, are you having a garage sale? No, I'm just here. I'm looking for a few things. Oh, are you resell on eBay, Amazon? You get to talking to them, and you just, you open up those common, or you look for those common bonds, or you look for those. I call Chloe my fishing hook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I always like to do, to be honest, I mean, whether you go with someone to like garage sale or not, I try and wear something, maybe a hat, maybe a jersey, because I like sports. But especially if you're wearing something in the town that you're, like I'm in the Bay Area, if you wear like a 49ers jersey or something, or Golden State Warriors or whatever it is, there's always somebody that's going to ask you something about that. Did you see the game last night? Or can you believe whatever? And that kind of stuff opens up a conversation without you having to open your mouth even.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's just, and it's fun. I mean, you talk about something you'd like to do, and then right after that, you feel like, oh yeah, by the way, do you have any, other stuff inside or anything? Yeah, and they'll be more open to talking to you. And being someone that's not really that talkative myself, it's like it's a helper right there. Just putting someone a smile.
Those icebreakers.
Yeah, exactly.
You get, and that. Again, using the theme of today's episode, that's a form of networking.
Yep.
Because you have a commonality, you have an icebreaker, you have a conversation. So just everything can be used in form of networking. Is I guess what we're getting at.
Yep, absolutely. And then I think that this is kind of a lesson for myself as much as anyone that might be listening. If you can just go out there and maybe meet one new person a week, even, and just imagine that, multiply it out, and then it multiplies from that, and then just what you gain from that, you might gain a friend. Who cares about business? Might. Yeah.
You will meet some interesting people, and I'm a storyteller, so I like to. We're in Portsmouth, Ohio.
Okay.
That's where we bought our coach. We're at a motel, and they didn't have many motels in town, so it was at this motel. Next to the motel was a Subway sandwich shop.
Okay.
We sat in the Subway sandwich shop, started talking to people. I met a guy that was with the Flying Elvises.
Wow.
The ones that jumped out of the airplane in Elvis suits in Vegas and stuff. Because this guy had sideburns and stuff, and he said he didn't do it anymore, but we got to talking. And then this was this guy in the store. And then we got to talking to the store manager. She moved from Kansas, Nebraska, someplace, to Ohio, just picked up and moved. And she went totally off grid. So her and I started talking about solar energy. And that type of stuff. So I met two really interesting and got a lot of knowledge from her.
Yeah.
Just from saying, hi, how are you? Where you from?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Flying Elvises, I cracked up. I'm like, you're in this small town, and he still had the sideburns. Yeah. Yeah. And he didn't jump anymore, but he still toured with the group sometimes.
Yeah,
so
you kind of reminded me of the person that when we first started the shipping store. He was an older guy. He used to, I don't know if I mentioned this before, he used to do door-to-door sales for Sears Roebuck back in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
So he was a door-to-door guy. And I remember a couple things he would tell us. One, don't worry about anyone ever saying no to you or slamming a door in your face, because that's a good thing. like the old adage about you need 20 no's a day before you can eat lunch. That's what he would do.
Right.
20 no's, and this isn't on the phone, like slams in the face. That's what he wants. And he smile when he gets his number 20 because he said, okay, I've done my job for the day. Obviously, you're looking not to get a no, but percentage-wise, they always talk about, eventually you're going to hit that yes then once you get those no's.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just remember him anytime I think about sales. His name was Floyd. And just
Floyd the Sear salesman. That even sounds like a story in itself right there.
I mean, the guy, I remember he took us because back in the day, they would say, you got to know your neighbors. They had a program called Know Your Neighbors. So literally, and I hated it because I hate door-to-door sales. I can't do it. And then funny, we were selling shipping services to our neighbors. And I said, well, can't we go a couple miles down the road? And he said, no, you have to go next door and then you keep going out. And then you make like a full circle. So we did like a half-mile radius. And I said, well, I'm going to know those people. I said, well, that's the point. What do you think?
You start from your sphere of that's a W. Clement Stone's and Napoleon. I wanted to say, almost said Napoleon Dynamite, but Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
That's some of their sales principles. He was using their very old, tried and true sales principles that start with your sphere of influence and work next door, and then go next door and go next door.
And then I remember we went to it was a Bank of America finance place. It wasn't a bank, but whatever. But the reason I remember this is because I literally did get hit in the face, and I had a little mark on my nose. That door was so heavy. The guy, he opened it, and I got about 3.5 seconds in maybe of whatever I was saying, and boom, right. And I remember looking back in the car because he said he went out like in the first 2 or 3 with us, and they said, okay, I'm going to wait in the car now, and I'm gonna listen in. I don't know how he could listen from that far, but whatever. And then he was watching though, and he was laughing his head off. I thought my nose was broken, but anyway, he was laughing his head off. All right, we popped your cherry. Let's do it again. And then,
but that was probably the worst day you've ever had. At that moment, you thought, this is the worst day I've ever had at a job.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I know this bank. It's not far from where I am, and these people are going to be laughing at me. All those silly thoughts are going through my head, and nothing happened. I mean, I actually met somebody there who came in to do a notary like a month later, and she said, I remember you. Didn't you come by or something like that? And nobody remembers details.
That again, a personal door-to-door is just networking.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm no door-to-door guru by any stretch of the means. I'm horrible at it. I've done it. And it does kind of work.
The first time I ever did it, I went out, and my first time, I literally I did insurance and had the script and everything, and I was shaking so bad and sweating so bad. I know that, and the person listened to my spill and said, okay, well, come back tomorrow and we'll talk again. And I was like, oh yeah. Came back tomorrow, and they bought like 4 policies from me. I thought. And it was like, oh, yeah, okay. But you got it. Eventually, you got a yes. You got somebody saying, oh, yeah, you know what? So, yeah, you kind of went. And then after about the 100th time of knocking on the door, you get where like Floyd did. Yeah. I need 20 no's before lunch.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a great form of networking. I wonder what would happen if we just picked a neighborhood as a reseller, knocked on the door, like American Pickers, Doug. Of course, they're a little more, it's reality, so they're set up.
Yeah.
But just go in a neighborhood that's had garage sales and say, knock on the door. Wouldn't that be a great social experiment to put on YouTube?
It would be. And funny, I mean, I know you've seen the people that do it. Usually it's like vacuum sales or something like that. And I actually had a couple of friends that used to do that, but that would be an awesome show. Just they set up a camera and then just follow these people out to do like a GoPro. And instead of saying, I'm looking to sell you something, I'm looking to buy something from you. Yeah. And then they
hey,
how long like they lasted, like, who was able to get the sale? And if you didn't get the sale, how long did you keep our conversation for and build it up?
Right.
I mean, that would be a tough gig, to be honest. But
that would be some different networking, wouldn't it?
yes.
So
Yes.
good. Well, anything else you can think to add, Mo?
Well, I would say, I mean, we've talked a lot about like door to door, or we haven't even talked about over the phone, but I mean, I'd say if somebody could just go out and meet anyone, like I said, in their local thrift store, wherever they go to, just meet that person, shake a hand, get one name of one manager or one, even a cashier, it doesn't matter. And then go from there. Do that once a week and then build up from there. And then maybe do it every time you build up. And then the second thing I would say is we spend a lot of time online where we talk about social media. Look up maybe somebody that you talk to that's maybe in your city, in your county, even in your state. Maybe it's not too far, and reach out to them. Maybe Facebook message, Instagram, whatever it is. And just say, hey, I noticed you sell, I don't know, boots. I sell boots too. Where do you get it? Or ask a question about it. It doesn't have to be invasive, but reach out to one person. However you want to do it, just do it and do one a week, and then do two a week. Go from there.
I've got some nine triple E's. Do you think they'll sell? Ask them. People do love to help.
Yes.
In a sense, they don't, like you said, don't be evasive. And hey, where's your source? Where's your, how much should I charge? I've got to learn that on my own. But
I think you struck on an excellent point right there. If you come to the show with something to show, with something to give, like you notice that somebody is selling something and you have a not a criticism, but a pointer that would help them. Or like you have like they're asking a question, you answer the question, and then you go on. Yeah. You've provided value. Like you always hear people say that, provide value first.
Provide value.
One person, and then see what happens.
Yeah, do that. And for you garage sailors out there, when you hear this podcast, and the next time you go to garage sale, start asking for other things.
Yes.
Do you have any cowboy boots? Do you have any video games? My nephew does a killing by every garage sale he stops at. He says, "Do you have any old video games?" Well, yeah, we got some. Do you want to get rid of them, Johnny? Yeah, I'll get rid of them. And boom, boom, boom. He just nails it not every garage sale is going to say yes.
Yeah. You just got to have that confidence to ask.
You got to have that confidence to ask. And I ask about old audio equipment. Have you got any old audio equipment? I found some that way. So, yeah, reach out, speak up, put yourself out there and meet people.
Yeah. And I've got one more. If you want to reach out to us, leave us a comment. Send us an email. We will happily.
Leave us a comment. Yeah. Shout out to Debbie. Debbie, you're out there, and we're not Guns N' Roses. We're going to stick around.
Are you Axel or am I?
What's that?
I said, are you
Axel?
Oh,
yeah. Buddy, have you seen pictures of Axel lately?
No.
He's real close to my size now, and he's looking pretty old too, so.
That's awesome. But thank you, Debbie. We did get that question. But we'll be around, and we will be back with another show hopefully next week. But if you guys want to keep in touch with us, you can find us on Instagram. Russ is at The Roaming Pickers, and I'm at Niche Reseller. And you can also find us on YouTube and in our Facebook group, the Reseller Niche Facebook group. And until the next one, we will talk to you next time. Have a good one.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Reseller Niche Podcast. Show notes and social media links are located at resellerniche.com. Please like and subscribe to us on iTunes.